And it is not good for Donald Trump. 59%, quote, disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. Just 20% approve.
But K-File's extensive reporting now shows the two shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile parties, and that's only part of the story.
Today, we are going to reveal something so explosive that it could bring down the entire Trump administration. What I'm about to tell you will shock you to your core and show you just how deep this corruption really goes. Epstein files, the most dangerous documents in America. Documents that could expose decades of crimes, cover-ups and connections that reach the highest levels of power. But here is what they do not want you to know. Donald Trump is not just connected to Jeffrey Epstein. He was his closest friend for over 10 years. And now, as president, he is using every tool of government power to hide the evidence. 3 weeks ago, I received a call that changed everything. Dr. Sarah Richardson, one of the leading investigative journalists from the Washington Post, had just completed a bombshell investigation into the Trump-Epstein connection. 25 years of research, thousands of documents, hundreds of photos and videos. Dr. Richardson told me something that sent chills down my spine. The relationship between Trump and Epstein was not casual. It was not distant. It was intimate, long-lasting, and deeply criminal. She showed me evidence that the public has never seen. Evidence that proves Trump and Epstein were best friends for decades. Evidence that shows Trump flew on Epstein's private jet 8 times. Evidence that shows they attended parties together, shared the same social circle, and were involved in the same criminal activities. But here is the most shocking part. Now that Trump is president, he is using the full power of the federal government to cover it up. Let me tell you the story of what happened to Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner in crime. Maxwell was convicted of child sex trafficking and sentenced to 20 years in prison. She should be in maximum security, isolated from the public, paying for her crimes. But something incredible happened. Just weeks after Trump took office, Maxwell was mysteriously transferred from a secure federal prison to a minimum security camp in Texas, a camp where she is now eligible for work release. Think about that for a moment. A convicted child sex trafficker is now allowed to leave prison during the day and work in public. She could be working at a Starbucks near you, hunting for new victims, while the Trump administration looks the other way. Why would they do this? Because Maxwell has information that could destroy Trump. And by giving her special treatment, they are buying her silence. Write expose in the comments if you believe the American people deserve to know the truth about Trump and Epstein. Or write cover-up if you think some secrets should stay buried forever. I want to know what you think. This shows me if you are ready for the shocking truth about the most powerful conspiracy in American history. But the corruption goes even deeper. Let me tell you about the secret meetings that are happening right now in the White House. Meetings where Trump's lawyers are desperately trying to figure out how to keep the Epstein files buried forever. Todd Blanche, Trump's personal lawyer who is now working in the Department of Justice, has been conducting private interviews with Maxwell. Not official government business, personal favors for the president. These interviews are not about justice. They are about coaching Maxwell on what to say and what not to say. They are about making sure her testimony protects Trump instead of exposing the truth. Federal Judge Paul Engelmeyer in New York saw right through this corruption. When Trump's lawyers asked him to release only tiny portions of the grand jury transcripts, the judge not only denied their request, but excoriated the Trump administration. Judge Engelmeyer told them they are at fault and should release the damn files. He reminded everyone about the victims of Ghislaine Maxwell and why she is a horrible, convicted child sex trafficker. But Trump does not care about the victims. He only cares about protecting himself. Let me show you just how close Trump and Epstein really were. This is not speculation. This is documented fact. In 1993, the same year that Jeffrey Epstein attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples, Trump flew on Epstein's private jet 4 times with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell between Palm Beach and other locations. In 1994, Trump flew from Palm Beach to Washington, D.C. with his then-wife, Marla Maples, his daughter Tiffany, and a nanny. Epstein and Maxwell were on the plane. In 1995, Trump and his son Eric flew with Epstein and Maxwell from Palm Beach to New Jersey. In 1997, Trump flew again with Epstein and Maxwell from Palm Beach to Newark, New Jersey. 8 documented flights in total. This is not the behavior of distant acquaintances. This is the behavior of close friends and criminal partners. But it gets worse. In 2002, Trump gave an interview to New York Magazine where he called Epstein a terrific guy. He said Epstein likes beautiful women as much as he does, and many of them on the younger side. Think about that statement. Trump knew that Epstein liked young girls. He knew it, and he approved of it. He was bragging about it to a magazine. 2 years later, in 2004, Trump wrote in his book How to Get Rich about someone he called the mysterious Jeffrey, who had called him. Messages from Trump to Epstein were found in Epstein's home during the FBI investigation. These were not business associates. These were not casual acquaintances. These were best friends involved in the same criminal activities. Let me tell you about the parties they attended together. In November 1992, Trump and Epstein were photographed dancing with models at a party. Ghislaine Maxwell was in the background. In 1999, they were photographed together at a Victoria's Secret fashion show. In 1997, Trump was photographed with Maxwell at another fashion show. In February 2000, there was an event at Mar-a-Lago that featured Trump, Epstein, Maxwell, and Prince Andrew. All the major players in this criminal network were there together. These are not coincidences. This is a pattern of criminal behavior that went on for decades. But here is what really shows you how desperate Trump is to hide this. When CNN reached out to the White House for comment about all this evidence, they refused to answer any detailed questions. Instead, they sent one pathetic response. Stephen Chung, the communications director, said, quote, "The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep." That is their entire defense. After decades of friendship, after 8 flights on Epstein's private jet, after countless parties and events together, their only response is that Trump eventually kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. But even that is a lie. The evidence shows that Trump and Epstein had a falling out over a real estate deal in 2004, not because Trump suddenly discovered Epstein was a criminal. Now let me tell you about the hero who is fighting to expose this corruption. Alex Acosta, the prosecutor who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal in 2008, could soon be called to testify under oath. Acosta was the prosecutor who allowed Epstein to plead guilty to just 2 prostitution-related charges instead of the serious federal sex trafficking charges he should have faced. Epstein served only 13 months in a county jail and was allowed to leave the jail nearly every day for 12 hours. This was not justice. This was a cover-up. And Acosta, who later became Trump's Labor Secretary, was the man who made it happen. But here is the incredible part. Even though dozens of victims had come forward, even though the evidence was overwhelming, Acosta let Epstein off easy. Why? Because Epstein had information about powerful people. People like Donald Trump. Now, Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is saying that calling Acosta to testify is not off the table. She says at any time he can be called to testify. This terrifies the Trump administration because Acosta knows everything. He knows about the deal, he knows about the cover-up, and he knows about Trump's involvement. The Department of Justice later found that Acosta exercised poor judgment in the case, but he continued to defend his actions years after the case was closed. Acosta said there was value to getting a guilty plea. You can always look at a play after the fact and say, should it have been the safe play, or should you have gone for the big score? But this was not about strategy. This was about protecting powerful criminals. And now those same criminals are running the country. Write expose in the comments if you want Acosta to testify and tell the truth. I see many expose comments already. That is exactly the right attitude. You are ready for the truth about the most powerful conspiracy in American history. All you cover-up writers, after the next few minutes, you will change your minds. I will show you evidence that will make you demand answers, but the corruption does not stop there. Let me tell you what is happening right now in Congress. House Democrats and senators like Sheldon Whitehouse are making demands on the head of the Bureau of Prisons and on Attorney General Pam Bondi to release the files about Maxwell's suspicious transfer. They wrote a letter that exposes the entire conspiracy. The letter says, 2 weeks ago, you inexplicably transferred Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, from a federal correctional institution to a far preferable and relatively luxurious minimum security camp in Texas, 3 years into her 20-year sentence for crimes against individuals, some reportedly in their mid-teens. The transfer followed Todd Blanche's private interviews with Maxwell, arranged after a firestorm of media attention about the Department of Justice's refusal to release the Epstein files. These actions raised substantial concerns that the administration now may be attempting to influence a crucial witness, conceal Trump's relationship with convicted offenders, and coax Ms. Maxwell into providing false or misleading testimony to protect the president. The transfer appears to violate Department of Justice and Bureau of Prisons policies. They are demanding all documents and information related to Deputy Attorney General Blanche's interview of Ms. Maxwell and the sudden transfer to a lower security prison. This is witness tampering at the highest levels of government. This is obstruction of justice by the President of the United States. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Federal Courts, wrote a similar letter demanding all the same information. But here is what gives me hope. The American people are not giving up. Organizations like Democracy Forward have filed 80 cases against the Trump administration, including the first case seeking the Epstein files. They want the flight logs, the client lists, communications between Epstein and Trump, and communications between Maxwell and Trump. And guess who is overseeing this case? Judge Tanya Chutkan, the same judge who oversaw Donald Trump's criminal prosecution in the DC election interference case. Democracy Forward has already filed a summary judgment motion. They are saying, we do not need a trial, Judge. Just give us the documents under the Freedom of Information Act request that we made. This is how we fight back. In the courts, in the media, in the public consciousness. We do not let them bury the truth. The Democrats who are in the minority are still fighting. They are writing letters, holding shadow hearings, bringing these individuals in for questioning. When they bring in the director of the Bureau of Prisons, when they bring in Pam Bondi, they will cross-examine them and grill them for the American people. But we need your help. We need you to stay engaged, stay informed, and demand answers. Let me tell you about the people who are still waiting for justice. Court records state that Epstein and Maxwell were involved in unlawful conduct toward individuals, some reportedly in their mid-teens. These actions caused significant and lasting harm. Critics allege that certain influential figures, including Trump, either failed to intervene or had unclear associations with those involved. And maybe you're wondering why I'm speaking so indirectly. It's because if I told you this in the plain, unfiltered way, I could get silenced, not just scrubbed from the internet, but erased from the conversation entirely. They have the power to wipe people off the map for saying the wrong thing, and they've done it before. These individuals deserve justice. They deserve to know that those responsible will be held accountable, no matter how powerful they are. But Trump does not care about them. He cares about protecting himself and his closest allies. That is why Maxwell got transferred to a minimum security camp. That is why she is eligible for work release. That is why Trump's lawyers are conducting secret interviews with her. It is all about the cover-up. It is all about protecting the powerful at the expense of everyone else. Let me tell you what we know about Trump's current panic. Sources inside the White House tell me that Trump is holding secret meetings with his lawyers, trying to figure out how to keep the Epstein files buried forever. They are terrified that the truth will come out. They are terrified that the American people will learn about Trump's long-standing association with Epstein. They are putting J.D. Vance out on the Sunday morning talk shows to try to blame the Biden administration for the Epstein files. But that did not work, because everyone knows the truth. It is publicly known that Trump and Epstein maintained a close association for many years, and that flight records show Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet multiple times. Critics claim that Trump was aware of Epstein's criminal activities and took no action, an account that Trump denies. The truth is that now, as president, Trump is using every tool of government power to cover up his involvement. But we will not let them succeed. We will keep fighting for the truth. We will keep demanding answers. We will keep exposing the corruption. Because this is not just about Trump and Epstein. This is about whether we live in a country where the powerful can commit crimes and get away with it, or whether we live in a country where justice applies to everyone. The choice is ours. We can let them bury the truth, or we can demand that it be exposed. I choose to fight for the truth. I choose to fight for those who have been wronged. I choose to fight for justice. And I know you do too. The American people are sick and tired of this government holding on to all these secrets. They are sick and tired of being lied to by the intelligence community and by a deep state. We should not have to wait 60 years to find out what really happened when it came to Jeffrey Epstein. We deserve answers now. The victims deserve justice now. The American people deserve the truth now. That is why we are here. That is why we are fighting. That is why we will never give up. Trump can try to change the subject. He can try to distract us with his federal takeover of Washington, D.C. He can try to shift the narrative with his meetings with Putin. But we will not be distracted. We will not be silenced. We will not give up. The truth will come out. The files will be released. Justice will be served. And when that day comes, the American people will finally know the full extent of the corruption that has infected our government. They will know about Trump's friendship with Epstein. They will know about the cover-up. They will know about the victims who were ignored and the criminals who were protected. And they will demand accountability. That day is coming, and we will be ready. This was Who Owns the World? Coming to you from Washington, D.C. Remember, the 5 most dangerous secrets they are hiding are the flight logs showing Trump flew with Epstein 8 times, the photos and videos of them together at parties for decades, the private interviews between Trump's lawyers and Maxwell, the suspicious transfer of Maxwell to minimum security with work release privileges, and the ongoing cover-up by the Department of Justice. The truth is more powerful than their lies. If this investigation opened your eyes, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss our exposés and revelations. Write in the comments which of these Epstein secrets you want us to investigate next. I read every comment, and your input guides our investigations. The establishment wants you to stay ignorant and compliant. But now you know the truth. Use it. Share this video with everyone who needs to know what is really happening in our government. You could save our democracy. Stay vigilant. We will see you in the next investigation.